My name's Ed Glinert, tour guide and author of the Manchester Compendium. I'm going to take you on a short tour of the great Manchester buildings and the architectural styles that have created this city. I'm standing in front of the Friends Meeting House, designed in 1830 by Richard Lane. This is in the classical style. At that time, Manchester had few buildings of great architectural merit. Richard Lane went around Manchester building everything in his classical style to look like Greek temples. This is based on the temple on the Ilissus in Greece, and it was built as a Quaker meeting house on the site of an earlier building where people who were injured in the Peterloo Massacre of 1819 took refuge. Now, if you look at this building, what you'll notice about it are a number of different things. Symmetry, it's symmetrical about the centre. Proportion, it's mathematically proportionate, and also simplicity. It's not very high because the Greeks couldn't build in much higher than 2 stories. The facade is all that's left of the original Free Trade Hall built on this site in 1856. This is Manchester's grandest Italian style building. All the rage in the mid-19th century to build your great buildings like Italian merchants' palaces, the idea being that the merchants of Manchester were the new Renaissance princes. This was a new city and they wanted to show their grandeur, they wanted to show that they had the integrity and the power and the might and the money of the great Italian families of the 15th and 16th century. So this building is built in that style. And it's the grandest one in that style. It's designed by Edward Waters. He did a lot of great cotton warehouses in what is now Chinatown. He did this in the 1850s. This actually wasn't the first Free Trade Hall on the site, it was the third. And of course it's since been changed because the back, what was the auditorium, was destroyed in the Second World War and rebuilt recently as Manchester's only 5-star hotel. And the Free Trade Hall was a building to commemorate the free trade movement that gave Manchester its wealth in the 19th century. Manchester Town Hall, the high point of Gothic architecture, Gothic revival architecture in Manchester. This is the grandest, most imposing building in the city and also the grandest, most imposing town hall in the country. Manchester was trying to show that it had municipal power, that it had might, that it had status by building a town hall this grand. And it was also trying to say to passers-by, Manchester must be a really important city. Look at this town hall, it looks like a medieval building. Perhaps it's been here hundreds of years, but it's an illusion. It deliberately looks like a 13th century cloth hall from northwestern Europe. Manchester doesn't have many great buildings from the modernist style from the early 20th century, between the 2 world wars. This is the best of them, Lee House, designed by Harry Fairhurst in the late 1920s. If you look at it, the detailing looks like the detailing from a typical American skyscraper. It's immense, it's the only one of its kind in Manchester. It's the Beetham Tower or Hilton Tower. It's 47 stories. It's the tallest residential building in Europe. It's the tallest building in Britain outside London. The bottom half is a hotel, Hilton Hotel. The top half is Beetham Tower, that's the apartment block. So these people who live in there have got the highest views of any residence anywhere in Europe. In the middle, on the 23rd floor, you've got the Cloud 23 cocktail bar. And if you stand at a couple of spots in that bar, there's a glass panel you can see straight down 23 floors onto the ground below, which makes some people feel very, very wheezy. But like a lot of great Manchester buildings, again the design isn't original. The architect, Ian Simpson, has taken elements from a building that was meant for Paris and never finished. A building called Tour Sans Fin, Tower Without End, designed by a chap called Jean Nouvel. This opened in 2005, and if you look on some websites in Manchester, you'll see that this is listed as the 6th tallest building in the city, which is pretty incredible given the other 5 haven't actually been built yet. Maybe when the credit crunch is over, they will appear, and you can imagine coming back in about 50 years' time, and this is just one of 100 similar sized buildings. But at the moment, it's the only one of such size in Manchester, and it's quite remarkable.